Speaking of MSNBC, oh my goodness, we're going through this. Boy, howdy. Okay. So allegedly Trump was gagged by the judge yesterday. Judge Engoron. Sorry, hold on a second. What the heck? There we go. Judge Engoron, who we did a thorough breakdown of his overt, arguably corrupt biases, modus operandi to get to the conclusions that he wants to get to. We broke down the video of him giving a speech to some journalists, talking about the tools that he has to overturn jury verdicts, judgment notwithstanding a verdict. If he doesn't like it, he's done it twice. He's only been overturned once. That's not bad for using something that's very controversial of a means of usurping, bypassing, overriding jury verdicts. He's quite clearly found another tool to bypass the risk of a jury verdict that he doesn't like altogether. That's called the summary judgment, summary motions. Hey, I can just say what the facts are and avoid a jury verdict. We don't need to submit the facts to a jury for adjudication. I've decided them. And now we just go and, have a trial on guilt a la Alex Jones. We're going to get there. So we did a thorough breakdown of Judge Engoron's, he said the quiet part out loud 8 years before he knew that he was going to be having that spotlight shone on him. And he issued a gag order against Trump yesterday. Now, so questions. I hear the news. Try to make sense of it. Issued a gag order. Was it a written gag order? I couldn't find a written gag order. And apparently it was merely, I say merely, I don't think it changes much in terms of judicial force. He issued a verbal gag order in court, restricting what Trump can and cannot say online, and ordered Trump to take down a Truth Social post. And then I say, okay, well, first of all, there's no written order that I know of yet. I presume at some point they're going to transcribe the order into something that they're going to register on the docket so that they can have clarity in terms of enforceability. I said, what was the extent of the gag order? The extent of the gag order does not seem to be overly extensive. It just says that, well, let's just pull up. Let me see here. Where's the, no, not this. Not this. Come on. I have the video. Oh, here we go. Judge hammers Trump. Here we go. This is it. Okay. We're gonna break down this entire clip because this clip is just a masterpiece of how fake news propaganda works. But here.
It only took 2 days.
Look at her face. Look at her face. She's so happy. This is MSNBC. Look at her face.
Technically a day and a half for Donald Trump to be gagged by Judge Engoron in his New York fraud trial.
It only took a day. I mean, it's got to be his fault. It can't just be a judge looking for a pretext. Wait until you hear the basis upon which the reason for which they gagged Trump. Here.
It all happened after Trump went on Truth Social and posted the name, photograph, and Instagram account of the judge's principal law clerk. The post attacked the clerk for being in a photograph with the Senate Majority Leader, Democrat Chuck Schumer. Then Trump went to the cameras outside the courthouse and continued his invective.
His invective.
They rigged the trial. It's a fraudulent trial. The Attorney General is a fraud. And we have to expose her as that. You see what's going on? It's a rigged deal. Frankly, you saw what was just put out about Schumer and the principal clerk. That is disgraceful.
Understand this. Now that Engoron himself is under the spotlight of things that he said 8 years ago, which can clearly indicate a massive, massive problem for an activist judge. Recall, I'm not going to pull up everything that I did yesterday. Recall that he said at one point in that speech to the journalists, am I following the law or am I making the law? Who knows? And then goes on to say, I'm supposed to follow the law. I'm paraphrasing. I have my bias. I'm a human. I can't take out my human emotions from this. And I have tools. A judge who is unironically, unsarcastically asking whether or not through his conduct he's following the law as he's supposed to as a judge, or making the law, which would make him an unlawful activist on the bench, a legislator from the bench, which is not what he's allowed to do. I'm a stupid Canadian. I still know the three branches of government: executive, legislative, judicial. Executive enforces the law, legislative legislates the law, and judicial interprets the law. When you have the judicial legislating, you've got activists on the bench, and you've got the judicial exceeding its scope of authority for its branch of government. And you've got a judge 8 years ago proudly saying, am I following the law or am I making the law? I can't get my emotions out of it, but I have tools. Now you have the principal clerk, the top clerk, in their public social media accounts, posting their political partisan biases, presumably. Can you imagine that Trump was, oh, sorry, hold on. We didn't get to the actual gag order. Hold on a second. The gag order made him take down the Truth Post and forecloses him or prevents him from speaking negatively, or hold on.
Now, Judge Engoron did not take any of this lightly.
Of course he
calling
did.
the attacks unacceptable and inappropriate.
The attacks seems like exposure to me. Unacceptable and inappropriate. I could see how an activist judge with tools can find the exposure of the political bias of his courtroom, of his judicial office, to be problematic. I can for sure understand why this irked the judge. Is anything inappropriate about it? Oh, it's intimidation to post someone's name and their social media account. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that's why they had a social media account, which was to converse with the public. Oh, but they want to converse with the public, just not that much of the public.
Ordered Trump to remove the post, and according to NBC News, the judge told the court to consider this a gag order on all parties with respect to posting or publicly speaking about any member of my staff.
Oh, I'm sorry. So now Trump can't point out clear political activism from the very same judge, office of the judge that is now not prosecuting him, but adjudicating on his case? How convenient is that?
The judge said that violations of this order would lead to swift, meaningful sanctions.
Now we're going to go through the rest of this video, I think, unless it's too boring. It's not. It's a necessity. It can lead to swift, meaningful sanctions. In the video, as we're going to see, they talk about jail time. They talk about fines. What they don't talk about is what we saw in Alex Jones. Sanctions. Remember that Alex Jones did not have a trial on his guilt or innocence. It was a default verdict on his guilt. The only mock sham kangaroo court trial that we saw was on the damages to be awarded based upon the finding of guilt by default verdict. It's an amazing thing. We're going to watch this video. They talk about the sanction of going to jail. They talk about the sanction of hefty fines. They acutely do not mention the sanction of foreclosed from pleading, default verdict, which they're basically at now because last week they got the summary judgment from Letitia James from this judge. No, there is no triable issue of fact that needs to be submitted to a jury. I have determined that. Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. That's a fact. It's an uncontested fact, except it's contested. So now we just go to, I don't know what. What's left of Trump's defenses? So understand that. There will be swift and serious sanctions. We're going to end up with another Alex Jones kangaroo court where the guilt is already determined and the trial is only going to be on the sanctions. How many years does Trump go to jail for from this Judge Engoron? But do not highlight the fact that my chief clerk, my principal clerk, is a partisan political activist, potentially. Don't highlight the fact that I boasted about how I had tools to be an activist judge from the bench. That's inappropriate. And you cannot mention any members of my staff publicly. So nobody can do their due diligence, or at least other people can, just Trump can't. Listen to this. Great to see you too. Oh, hold on.
Legally speaking, haven't you heard? First of all,
look how
meaningful
happy she is.
sanctions. What does that
practically
mean?
Well, it could mean in an ordinary thing, if there's a gag order imposed and it's violated, it means putting someone in jail.
Can you understand this? If there's a gag order imposed, they are restricting his speech. His speech consists of identifying, not even identifying, putting on blast, amplifying already public figures. The person's got a social media account. Oh, but I don't want you to show it to everybody. I just want to show certain things to the world. They've gagged speech. And now this hack of an analyst is going to rationalize in his mind, well, we've already violated First Amendment rights. Let's legitimize locking someone up for violating a gag order that violates their First Amendment rights.
Now, a gag order, Alex, is really hard to get in a case.
It's so hard to get. He just issues one willy-nilly verbally. So hard to get.
I don't think I've ever seen it in any of my 1,000+
Really?
cases.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
it's amazing, eh?
people know, like, they use common sense, and you know, it's kind of like failing kindergarten. To get a gag order imposed, you got to kind of try.
Oh yeah,
Try to work at it.
Yeah, to get a gag order, you gotta identify a member of the clerk and their social media account. Oh, that's it. It's like failing kindergarten.
Trump managed to work at it and do it and succeed, but it took a lot of work on his part. And now I think the judge is basically saying, you attack a member of my staff,
Attack.
and there will be serious sanctions.
Attack. The attack, by the way, was identifying and publicizing their social media account. Oh wow.
Even up to jail.
Well, and yet,
Look
as
how happy
hard as
she
it
is.
to get the gag order, I think it's the broad expectation that Trump is inevitably going to violate it in some fashion or slander some other person involved in this case, whether it's the prosecution or the judge himself.
Understand what's happening right now. This is called persuasion. This is called laying the justification for others. I'm looking at Jack Smith, the judge there, Chutney. What she's doing right now is persuading the general public to have already accepted the idea that it will happen, so that when it does happen, it's not an egregious violation of fundamental rights. It was expected, and he was warned, and he did it nonetheless. Oh, it's expected he's going to slander somebody else. Can you imagine? He can't go out on social media and talk about his case, but as we're going to go see, he can do it. He just can't criticize anybody. He can talk about his case. He just can't intimidate witnesses. What does that mean? But Letitia James is getting up there talking about witness testimony. We'll get there in a second. Listen to this. Persuasion. They're laying the groundwork so that idiots who actually watch MSNBC for their news are going to come to grips in advance with the idea that the injustice is not an injustice because they've been persuaded to think it's not because their experts are telling them. All he has to do is shut his mouth and sit in the corner and take the punishment.
Yeah.
So would your expectation be that this is going to be kind of a laddering up of a punitive ladder up in terms of the judge issuing more gag orders until at some point he is forced to do something more drastic?
Yes, exactly. So basically, like if we're asked, is Trump going to violate the gag order? Almost certainly yes.
Oh, of course. Because they will fabricate the violation of the gag order. If any tweet they will twist into a violation of the gag. Is he going to? Of course he's going to, because whatever he does, we're going to turn into a violation of the gag order, because that's where it's going. This is persuading the general population to not think it's an outrage, and it's just giving the green light, the political permission slip, to Chutney, to Jack Smith, to who's the one in Georgia? I forgot her name now. Fannie Willis. I don't know who's the judge there. Forget who the judge. It's just, here's the political permission slip, the green light to all of the authorities who are going to execute this, pun intended. And this is the persuasion to the general public. When it happens, because it will happen, it's not an egregious violation of fundamental rights. It's justice. It's justice in a Bolshevik revolution.
More likely that he'll violate the gag order than almost anything, like than George Santos being the next speaker. I mean, we're talking, a significant probability he's going to violate the gag order.
It makes you dumb to listen to this.
And then the question is, will the judge at that point take the really heavy medicine of putting a former president in jail? Or will there be some sort of warning and monetary fine first?
Monetary fine. Or how about foreclosed from pleading? You didn't mention that, legal analyst. Wait until you see when that happens. But just understand now, what they're also doing right here, persuasion, if Trump gets locked up, it's the judge has been forced to do it. It's not the judge just acting totally like an activist from the bench. It's Trump's fault. He forced the judge's hand.
The latter, but it does really depend on exactly how Trump violates it.
Well, and isn't Trump's sort of goal, his existential goal, to stress test institutions? And
can you listen to this? Is his goal to stress test the institutions that are violating every tenet of fundamental justice? To prosecute and persecute Trump, they flip it around, and he's the victimizer. This is Darvo. Trump is the aggressor. Trump is the victimizer, not the victim. As they weaponize every aspect of government, every aspect of the justice system to persecute this one individual, they paint him as being the one he's acting to provoke it.
And the judicial branch is no exception to that. The idea that part of this is he feeds off of this controversy. He gains strength from disruption. And I mean, honestly, can you say as a lawyer that we as a country could really face a possibility of a former president, criminal defendant being put in jail? That just seems As necessary as that may ultimately be.
As necessary as that may ultimately be. I can't watch the
really
rest
hard
of this.
to fathom.
Right, your diagnosis of the problem seems exactly right to me. Trump is a kind of Voldemort-like figure who gets his strength by basically attacking institutions, and he does it here. He's doing it in
By
Washington,
attacking,
D.C.
I can't listen to it. I'm sorry. I was going to play the rest of it. I can't listen to that. He gets his strength by attacking institutions. Says the guy who is basically defending the institutions that are attacking Trump. Oh my gosh. And I watch that because I do the dirty work for all of you. I have to get through an MSNBC propagandist. I mean, those are the legal analysts. One thing they did not mention throughout that entire 9-minute and whatever seconds of absolute verbal diarrhea, they never talked about the foreclosed from pleading, foreclosed from defending, elimination of certain defenses. Remember, the judge talked some of the tools that he has. Estoppel. I can tell someone, you can't make that argument. You made another argument different to that one earlier or in another file. So now you can't raise that argument. Mark my words. They will sanction Trump, and the sanction is going to be foreclosed from pleadings or restrictions on defense if they haven't already done it to some extent. And then you're going to say, oh, he's guilty. Now let's just go to the Alex Jones trial on the damages. How long do you go to jail for, Trump? Okay, so we're not stopping there. So the gag order is not a written order that I know of yet. It consists of the judge saying, you can't post information about my staff on social media. Nobody can. So it's not just targeting Trump. But it's just targeting Trump because who else on the other side would have any vested interest in exposing the conflict of interest or the political bias, the political motivation of the members of the judge's staff? Who else? Sure as hell wouldn't be them. It's not like in the Roger Stone case, they were rushing out to expose the jury foreperson and her political bias. So that's the extent of the gag order for now. Verbal, willy-nilly, they're so hard to get, he just issues one like that on the spot. Consider this a gag order. Consider that I have just violated your First Amendment rights. Okay. Meanwhile, while Trump is gagged, Letitia James is not. Listen to this and listen to this. This will play all the way through. Is this the long one? Yeah. Listen to this. Oh, look, for all the jokes of me having technical difficulties and I'm a one-person show to some extent for the daily streams and, it's all... Yeah, that's fine. My mic doesn't work sometimes. You hear crackling. Okay, that's fine. I'm a one-person raging against the dying of the light guy. That's fine. This is Letitia James, who is posting this video. It looks like it's a ransom video. It looks like she's being held hostage. It sounds like it's recorded off an iPhone that's leaning against something and clicking. Hi-yo, what's this? This is a test of the National Wireless Emergency Alert System. The purpose is to maintain and improve alert and warning capabilities at the federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial levels. Well, that just gave me a small heart attack. It looks like she's reading a ransom statement. She's not, I don't know where she's looking because she seems to be reading a pre-drafted statement. And the audio sounds like it's shot off a crappy iPhone that's leaning against a wall and clicking. But let's just go to the substance of what she says.
Today was the second day of our trial against Donald Trump.
Remember, by the way, Trump is gagged. There's certain things, Trump has restrictions on what he can say. Letitia James is taking this persecution to Twitter. I don't know if YouTube is feeding me her crap now because I've engaged with it, but she's doing like several times a day updates. I mean, does she do this with every defendant, or only the ones that she campaigned off of initiating? And let's just listen to this. Statute of limitations.
Today was the second day of our trial against Donald Trump and the Trump Organization. The judge first confirmed that Mr. Trump incorrectly interpreted his comments related to the statute of limitations, as we mentioned yesterday.
Statute of limitations.
And our case continues. We resume questioning of our first witness, a former partner at Mazars, a firm that compiled Mr. Trump's financial statements for years. Mazars compiled the financial information that Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization provided and swore was true. The defendants cannot blame their repeated and persistent fraud on their accounting firm.
Their
because
repeated and persisted fraud. Remember, prosecutors are not, by the rules of justice, prosecutors are not there to pursue convictions. They're there to pursue justice. People seem to forget that. Doesn't matter. It's foregone conclusion that it's fraud, but let's just let her
It's
finish.
the defendants, and the defendants alone, who provided the numbers, the data, and the false valuation.
Who is she talking to? Like it's like she's got an audience of 50,000 people. She's probably sitting in some dingy room and stick a flag in the back and it's going to look official. And I'm going to talk to somebody who's holding an iPhone recording me from the bottom.
And as the judge ruled last week, we have proven that Mr. Trump and the other defendants committed fraud.
As the judge ruled last week, we have proven that he committed fraud. They've Alex Jonesed him. How did they prove it? Summary motion. Uncontested facts, according to the judge. It's an uncontested fact that you committed fraud. You overvalued your properties. Mar-a-Lago was worth $18 million, even though an empty lot, 2.3 acres, is selling for 100 and some odd million, and you've got 23 acres, however many on beachfront. They proved it. They proved it already. He committed fraud. She already proved it. How? There was no trial in front of a jury. The judge has got tools to get around that. Summary judgment.
I'm confident in the case we are presenting, and I know that justice will prevail.
I know that justice will
Because
prevail.
no matter how many properties one may own,
Listen to what she says here.
no matter how much money one may think they have,
This is a leitmotif. I'm gonna clip this with what she said yesterday. No matter how much money one may think they have, because Trump might think he has a lot of money, but he doesn't. She wants you to know that. No matter how many assets they think they might have, because we're going to go cancel their business certificates and then apparently threaten liquidation, auction, sell your shit. Welcome to Russia. Oh, but Russia bad, America good.
everyone
Everyone.
is equal under the law.
Everyone is equal under the law. Bullshit. And if anybody, the only people who say that are the ones who know the degree to which it's an absolute outrageous lie. The only people who say that are the ones who are lying about it. And mark my words and go check it out. See who says it. Everyone's equal under the law. Who says it? Nancy Pelosi? Maxine Waters? Adam Schiff? Letitia James? Oh God, Pudge is doing something in her bed and I see it now. Oh, but I had to put this together because this is some funny stuff here. Bring it back. Here, I had to do it.
The judge first confirmed that Mr. Trump incorrectly interpreted his comments related to the statute of limitations, as we mentioned yesterday. The statute of limitations, the statute of limitations, the statute of limitations, the statute of limitations. The judge first
I made that.
confirmed that Mr. Trump...
I'll give that to everybody. So if you're so inclined, you can go check the statute of limitations. Yep. I mean, after all, when you're reading it, shoot it again. Make the video again. It was 1 minute and 10 seconds. If you refer to the statute of limitations as the statute of limitations, just do it again. Not that hard. Unless it's just a joke from beginning to end, which it is. No one's above the law. Oh my goodness. So we got that. Hold on, was there? Oh, then let's. But by the way, so Letitia James will take to Twitter every day of the week because when she's summarizing the witnesses accurately, summarizing the witness testimony accurately or inaccurately, that's fine. If Trump says anything about witness testimony, that person's a liar. That person's trying to frame me. That's witness intimidation. He guaranteed if he were to say that, that's what'll happen. But Letitia James, she can say whatever the hell she wants about the witness testimony.
This trial is a total witch hunt, and I should be entitled to a jury like everybody else is entitled to a jury. I have no rights to have a jury. It's ridiculous. Thank you very much.
All right, so
This trial is a total witch hunt, and I should be entitled to a jury like everybody else is entitled to a jury. I have no rights to have a jury. It's ridiculous. Thank you very much.
Now,
all right, so that
yeah, all right. So
This trial
now,
is a total...
I've got to tell you something. We've just listened to so much horse crap, so much absolute shit, that Pudge pooped in her sleep. So I moved her bed to the corner so she doesn't continue sleeping in her poop. She's paralyzed in the back leg, so as she has good dreams, I guess, poop comes out. Or either that or she's heard MSNBC legal analysis and that's what she thought of it. Trump right there, there's another thing going on right now where they're saying Trump is not being denied a jury trial. Apparently he didn't check a box for a jury trial. And so that's what he's saying. He's saying I have no right to a jury trial. And the Steelman retort is that apparently his lawyers forgot to check a box requesting a jury trial. Okay, so we're going to go here. Trump jury trial check box. Yahoo News. Oh, you're not looking at it because I don't have it shared with the screen. Well, that sucks. Hold on one second. Here, add to stage. Did Trump's... Now, I know I'm going to Snopes. And I'm going to tell you, I'm prepared to accept their conclusion here. Let's see. Did Trump's lawyers forget to check a box requesting a trial jury? On October 2nd, 2023, former President Donald Trump appeared in person to witness the proceedings in a case brought by the New York City attorney Letitia James against his business empire. James accused Trump's businesses and business associates of persistent and repeated business fraud. The case, notably, is a bench trial in which a single judge, Arthur F. Engoron, the one we dissected yesterday with his 8-year-old speech, not only controls the proceedings, but ultimately rules on the facts of the case as well. In a makeshift press conference held during a break in the first day of the proceedings, Trump says, "I think it's very unfair. I don't have a jury." Legal experts and pundits immediately questioned the claim on the basis that, generally speaking, anyone in New York State is given a right to a trial by jury as opposed to a bench trial. And then we just saw that. Okay. In response to Trump's complaint, Engoron later stated that, in fact, nobody asked for a jury trial. The Messenger and other outlets initially argued that neglecting to file a simple form with a checkbox was the reason for Trump's lack of a jury trial. Okay. Sorry, let me just see one thing here. Okay, hold on. What was I saying? Okay, earlier this year, Letitia James filed a form with a checkmark next to the field trial without a jury. Trump's legal team didn't file a corresponding form, and the president may have regretted his lawyers' inaction ever since. James had requested, this is Letitia James, had requested a bench trial in a form filed publicly in June 2023 that notified defendants of their readiness for trial. Almost anyone can demand a trial within 15 days of such a notification. As a result of the imagery of a checkmark on the court-issued notice of the seemingly clear right for anyone to demand a jury trial, a talking point emerged to the effect that Trump's lawyers forgetting to check the box was the sole reason for a lack of jury. Okay. In an interview with Newsmax, Trump lawyer Alina Habba made the argument that her team, in fact, never had a right to a trial jury in the first place. And this is the lawyer saying, I have to address this one common misconception in the press, and unfortunately it just keeps getting repeated, which is that we have this great option to have a box checked for a jury. No, we didn't. That's not how it works. They brought it under Section 6312, which is a very narrow, not appropriately used section of the law, which is for consumer protections, not this. And that is why we're sitting here in front of the judge. This is according to Snopes, for those of you who are listening on podcast. 6312 refers to a section of New York state law that allows an attorney to bring an action against businesses or people that engage in persistent or business fraud. Yeah. David Schoen, a lawyer on Trump's impeachment team, who was not part of the fraud case, cited a 2011 case in which a judge from the same court said there is no right to a jury trial under New York Executive Law 6312 in an interview with CNN's Poppy Harlow. The statement about the case is not entirely correct. There is no written law that Snopes can identify explicitly mandating bench trials under 6312, but there is a legal precedent for a jury trial being denied to a case brought under that stemming from that case. Let's read that again. There is no written law that Snopes can identify explicitly mandating bench trials for those consumer protection cases, but there is a legal precedent for a jury trial being denied to a case brought under that law stemming from that case. The precedent stems not from 6312 cases, but from legally defined exemptions to a right for a trial jury in New York. This is getting very interesting. The specific distinction applies to cases in which the damages awarded are equitable in nature, such as remedies Such remedies are ones in which the court compels the defendant to perform a certain action or refrain from a certain act. My goodness, the New York laws of, civil procedure laws and rules explicitly states that, that might not be what CPLR stands for, explicitly states that equitable defenses and equitable counterclaims shall be tried by the court without a jury. Several courts in New York have ruled that there is no constitutional right to a jury. Let's just go all the way down here. Oh, hold on, we're all the way at the bottom. In the 2011 case cited by Trump's attorney Schoen, the judge ruled that remedies sought by James in this proceedings were equitable in nature and that as a result they did not come with a constitutional right to a trial by jury in New York State. Okay? As a result, there exists a firm legal argument that this case was never eligible for a jury trial in the first place. It's almost like the judge has the tools that he needs to avoid even getting to a jury trial. Oh my goodness. So that he doesn't even have to, judgment notwithstanding a verdict. As Schoen noted, however, there was no reason why the Trump legal team could not have at least attempted to do so, as First American Corporation did in their failed appeal for the jury trial. No. Such an argument, Schoen said, might have been raised regarding the $250 million in financial restitution sought by James. I would have filed a jury demand to litigate the issue because here there are very severe monetary punishments at issue potentially. And I think there's a strong argument to be made for the right to a jury trial. And then we're just going to end it. While a substantial sum, the $250 million penalty, is still a form of equitable relief as described by James in her initial complaint. That relief, known as disgorgement, requires, quote, a party who profits from illegal or wrongful acts to give up any profits they made as a result of those illegal or wrongful conduct. Oh. It is true, as Judge Engoron stated, that Trump team did not try to assert a right to a jury trial under the New York Rules of Procedure. It is also true, however, that being awarded a jury trial would have been much more complicated than simply checking a box. It's fascinating, actually. Even Snopes. I mean, the strong legal arguments. All right, so there's procedure, there's tools that the judge can hang his hat on to deny Trump a trial by jury. Not as simple as having forgotten to check the box. And I would have said, in my mind, it seems implausible that would have been the sole and only or even determinative reason, because there's an expression in French, what is it? La procédure est supposée être la maîtresse et non la servante de la loi. Procedure is supposed to be the servant and not the master of the law. And so some procedural omission should not violate a fundamental rule of justice. And if you have forgotten to check a box, they're not going to deny you a jury trial. But it's even more interesting to understand the tools that they used between Letitia James and the judge to ensure that Trump doesn't even get a jury trial in this case. Now they got a summary judgment. No, we don't even have to determine those facts.